They are the fastest growing racial group in our country, yet oftentimes they don't see their names or stories on bookshelves. And yet, 3 Asian female book lovers are making sure that those who come after them get to experience the wonder of words through their own experience. Here's ABC's Eva Pilgrim.
It's early morning in New York's Chinatown, and you can already feel the pulse of the city coming alive. For Lucy Yu, the sounds are a welcome soundtrack on her way to work at her shop, You and Me Bookstore. It's the first female Asian American bookstore in the city, becoming not only a refuge for the avid reader, but a gathering spot for the AAPI community.
Your background's not in books.
No.
What is your background in?
My background's in chemical engineering.
What did your mom say when you were like, I'm going to open up a bookstore?
As any Asian mother would be like, what are you doing? You got a 401k, like you got a stable job. Why would you go and do this super risky thing? I mean, my mom came here to have a stable life, to build a foundation and have just a day-to-day stability, and I'm here like disrupting all of that with starting my own thing.
Lucy wants to give her customers a space to belong, using her shelves to amplify the many unique and diverse Asian authors that exist in the world.
Do you think books help sort of dispel some of the myths around the racism that exists towards AAPI community in general?
Absolutely. At times, we can be seen as one-dimensional, and so having a work focused on our perspectives, our stories, really adds so many layers to the complications of our identity.
Chen Julie is one of the authors Lucy's shelves harbor. She fled China at just 7 years old.
Chinatown is home, and every time I come back here, I feel an incredible sense of homecoming.
Although her parents were professors, upon moving to the U.S., their undocumented status forced them into non-academic work, including laboring at a sweatshop. Books were a way for her to escape and connect her sometimes chaotic life to other children around her.
I found worlds of family and friends who were able to give me love and comfort and make me feel like I belonged, just like another American kid.
But many of the books, including the ones with Asian characters, she couldn't relate to, her mother telling her that she would be the one to change that.
I had immense survivor's guilt. I felt so incredibly lonely and ashamed of my roots.
On her hour-long commute to her law office, Chen Julie began writing her first book, the now New York Times bestseller, Beautiful Country, a memoir of her childhood living in poverty in one of the richest countries in the world. It was a book she never imagined would be published.
The comments that have surprised me most have been from readers who say, you know, I'm white and this part of your experience just so touched me. It's those kernels of being human and growing up that seems to tie so many of us together.
Her press tour for the book, though filled with moments of camaraderie, was also marred by what Chen Julie describes as racism and xenophobia. It's made shops like Lucy's all the more special to her.
To have a neighborhood and a space where we could come and people looked like us, and we could maybe drop that hypervigilance just a little bit because we were in our community, meant the world.
But in March, in the midst of violent attacks against the Asian community, there was real fear. The store became a safe haven.
Numbers.
Hundreds lined up around the block, not for books,
It just goes. It goes.
but for free pepper spray and community.
Did you have a bookstore like this when you were growing up?
Oh, absolutely not. With something like this, I wouldn't even have dared to like dream about something like that. I'm like gonna start crying. It's just so amazing to just look around and see like Asian names everywhere.
Chloe Gong is another New York Times bestselling author from New Zealand. She wrote her first book, These Violent Delights, in her freshman year of college. And although far from home, she tells us You and Me Books still feels like it was made just for her.
I think about how I would have loved that when I was 13. Because I remember it was either the stories that, didn't necessarily resemble my life, or there were the stories that did offer some sort of representation, and they were bad. As a reader now, I'm like, there's just so much richness, and it's so great to have it.
Because it is more than just the story. There is like a bit of education about what people's lives are like, even history.
There's an extra responsibility sometimes, especially with authors of color, to educate people. And I think that that's something that's really exhausting, and that's an extra kind of load for these authors and storytellers to carry. So I even love reading stories where it's a unlikable character that's like not a reliable narrator, but it's like a person of color. Because like we exist out here not just to tell people this is our stories, this is our history, but it's like we just exist to exist.
A lot of Asian women are these characters. Complicated, strong, a little prickly.
Exactly. It's like they have so many facets to them, and it is exactly what makes them so real and so like prominent in real life. And to me, it seemed like an injustice for books to be existing like without this kind of representation.
It's here, tucked into a small shop in Chinatown, Lucy Yu is doing a big thing, giving so many people who never saw themselves in books a chance to find characters to love and hate, creating a space for healing with a cup of coffee and a conversation.
I'm so excited for you!
And reminding people that you and me are not alone.
Our thanks to Eva for bringing us that.
Hi everyone, George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.